What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the McFarlane Toys Batman The Last Night on Earth Scarecrow. And so here we have the Last Night on Earth Scarecrow posed and out of the packaging. Now before we have a look at the figure, let's actually run through his accessories really fast. Scarecrow doesn't come with anything other than the main torso of Bane, which we'll have a look at when he's all put together. And then he also comes with a McFarlane flight stand. Other than that, we really don't get anything else with Scarecrow, which is kind of strange thing. Well, I'll explain more of it. I feel like he should have been more of an accessory than a full figure. But anyway, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually have a look at his details. And so here we have a closer look at the Last Night on Earth Scarecrow. Now, he's a really interesting figure. I'm not going to say he's great by any stretch of the imagination. He's interesting to say the least, and I know there's a lot of people that don't really like this particular version of Scarecrow. Me, I could do with or without this version. At least we got a Scarecrow, I guess. But anyway, he does have a really interesting feature right here, and the dome that he is wearing is removable, so you can get a better look at that face. And just in this dome, you can see how creepy that face is. And now we can actually detach the dome right there, and we have this really gnarly Scarecrow. He is very hideous, and I really do like it. He's almost zombie-like. And yeah, he just looks spectacularly gruesome, and that's very, very cool. I really do like the noose that's around his neck. It's not Scarecrow without some kind of noose. I like the detailing right here on this little tube in the back. I'm pretty sure this is what's keeping him alive. As you can see, they did a really nice job with the detailing there. We have a little coupler right there connecting the two tubes. So overall, yeah, that's really nice. And the detailing on him is very good, I'm not going to lie. We have really nice detailing here on Scarecrow. As you can see, they did a really good job weathering his torso there, just to give it that really malnourished, almost zombie-like appearance. And then we have a look at his, what would have been a trench coat. It's basically a jacket at this point. You can see all the stitch work in it, which I think it would have looked really nice if the stitch work was painted. We have some more stitch work that could have been painted here, but we have a really nice eye brushing right there. On his forearm, you can see he kind of has like these little bat fins coming out. It's almost like his hands are, or his arms are broken, and he has these braces on them. Going to his wrists, which are very creepy looking. His hand is probably a normal hand, but he has these really long mechanical fingers with these needles and syringes at the tips of them. So this is how he injects a fear toxin into people. And it's the same with both sides. We have that really nice metallic silver. The fear toxin right here looks really good. Then we have a look at his belly here. Now you might notice that this part seems out of place. Now this part does swivel out, and he does peg into the Bane Build-A-Figure, which we'll have a better look at when Bane is all put together. But the detailing right here on his guts is very, very good. I just kind of wish that there was a little more differentiating colors between what is what. I mean, you can see his intestines right here, probably his liver up here, and I know this is supposed to continue the sculpt, but yeah, it is very harsh to the eye when you see that this is a peg. Yeah, not much you can say. And then we have the base of his spine right here. His tailbone is just poking through. And we have more of his coat in tatters. So overall, this Scarecrow is interesting. He's not a full figure by any stretch of the imagination, but he's a really interesting figure. And I can see why a lot of people would be turned off by this particular version of Scarecrow. But if you really do like this version of Scarecrow, you're really going to love the detailing and just how much work McFarlane put into this figure. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually move on to comparisons. Here we have Scarecrow posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Scarecrow posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And finally, here we have Scarecrow posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a closer look at Scarecrow's articulation. Now we are going to remove his dome really fast just so we can have a full rundown of his articulation. And you can imagine the dome does hinder some articulation. So what we have here in his neck is a double ball joint. You can see we have a ball joint going into the head right there, and that ball joint goes into the neck. So we get some really good movement here. You can see he looks up really well. He can look down phenomenally, can tilt his head in all these creepy poses, which I really do like that. We have just full range of movement, and just creepy looking. I love it. I love the way his head articulates, and because it is on a ball joint, it does turn left and right, and you can tilt it as you turn it, just giving us that really monstrosity of a look. So that's it for his head. Unfortunately, his jaw doesn't articulate, which I would have liked to see that, but that's neither here nor there. His arms are ball joints going into the torso, so they do pivot forward and back. They have better, well, okay, so his right shoulder doesn't move forward all too well, but it does move back substantially, and of course it does pivot up and down. His left shoulder doesn't go back that much, but it does have better forward mobility. So right arm goes back, left arm goes forward, in case you guys were wondering. And it is on an off center, so his shoulders aren't even. As you can see, his right shoulder is higher than his left shoulder. His arms do a full 360, not all hindered by his jacket. It's a nice soft material. Arms do go out to the side, no problem. He does not have a bicep swivel, unfortunately. Instead, we do have a ball hinge here at the elbow, so it's almost like a Revoltech joint where it does hinge to about 90 degrees and does rotate. However, because of his sleeve right here, it is hindered in the side-to-side movement. You really can't get past this, and you can't go past that. And then we do have some rotation right there. We have rotation here at the forearm. So if you want to have the fins pointing down, you can. If you want to have them facing out, you can as well. It's all up to your preference. Be careful with the fins. They are kind of sharp at the ends right here. So if you are moving it, just be careful not to run your finger along that, because you can cut yourself. I've honestly done it before, so do be careful when messing with these fins. He has ball hinges here at the wrist, so we do have rotation. They hinge in and out, or up and down, depending on how you have that joint. And then they do rotate on that peg, so depending on how you have that, depends on how much range you actually get. Then we do have articulated fingers, but the way his articulated fingers work is that we have his index finger and middle finger articulate together. As you can see right here, they move together, and then his ring finger and pinky do move independently of the other two digits, so you can move them. I would have liked to see a little more articulation, especially right here in the thumb, because of the thumb. You guys can't even see, but I would have liked to see some articulation in the thumb, just because the thumb does get in the way and you really can't move it, and you can see the fingers start crossing one another. They might come out warped out of packaging, but nothing a little heat can't solve. And again, would have liked to see a little more range here in this thumb. So as you would imagine, we have no articulation here in the torso. We do have a peg that folds out, and that's mainly just to plug it into Bane. And it might appear that that's all the Scarecrow has, but he has one more point of articulation, and that's a hinge right here on his tailbone. For some reason, you can articulate his tailbone side to side, so I guess depending on how you have him hanging around, depends on how you can have that. You can have him hanging off to the side, off to the other side, and the tailbone does move independently. So that is really interesting. Wasn't expecting that. So overall, this is a really interesting figure. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's not terrible either. There's things to like about it, things to not like about it. It's really up to you how you want to see this figure. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get this guy posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the McFarlane DC Multiverse Last Night on Earth Scarecrow posed for my final thoughts. And overall, well, there's a lot to like about this figure in terms of detail. He has superb detailing all throughout his costume. I think the arms look really fantastic with the wraps and the metal. They did a really good job sculpting this figure, especially with the head. The head is one of the creepiest things I have seen on a figure. in a really long time, and it's a thing nightmares are made out of, especially if you aren't expecting to see a face like that. It will just pop out at you really, really, in a really good way, I'm trying to say. Now, I know a lot of people are turned off by this figure because essentially we have half a figure here. He is missing legs and he's basically an accessory, and that's one thing I don't like about this figure. He feels more like he would have been an add-on accessory rather than a full-fledged figure. Now, I do say he's an accessory because he does peg on to the main Build-A-Figure. I don't know how they could have done this. Scarecrow here just doesn't seem like a fully realized figure. There's so many other options they could have done with Scarecrow here. I think if they gave us a static Scarecrow that we could peg onto Bane, that would have been just as good, because without Bane, this Scarecrow really can't do much. And I like the fact that they gave him a flight stand, but he doesn't fly in the comic. He just crawls around and hangs on Bane's back, so yeah, the flight stand is a really nice way to keep him off the floor, but he mainly was just crawling and clinging to Bane, so yeah, I can understand if you don't really like this figure, but if you're a fan of the Last Night on Earth comic book, you're really gonna like this figure because it is superb, and the way he just hangs on to Bane is just very, very well done. I do like it. Again, there's things to like about this figure, things to hate about this figure, but it's really up to you whether or not you see your money in this figure. Now, I was lucky enough to pick up my Last Night on Earth Scarecrow from my local comic book store, so huge shout out to the good folks of Asylum Comics for getting this out to me so I could review it for you guys. Scarecrow here is a nice addition to your collection, but is he necessary? That's really up to you. If you're not a fan of this particular series of comics, you're not going to like this figure. But if you are a fan of The Last Night, you're really going to love this Scarecrow, especially when you see how he looks with Bane. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews as well as all my other DC Multiverse videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.